What's happening, guys? Hey, today I'm going to cover how to fix a cute little stroller. Well, one of the kids had this thing out, and of course the wheel popped off. And I thought to myself, hey, let's look at this thing and see what's going on. So, like a doctor does when you go to see him, I check out this wheel, and I look here. It's got this little round cylinder here, and it just snaps on. It's got these little clips right here. So I thought, oh, well, the wheel just popped off. Let me pop it back on. Well, no, it's split like all the way down the center where there's like this little seam. See this seam right here? It's split right down that seam, so obviously that's like a little weak spot right in there. See that? So I'm thinking to myself, okay, so how are we going to fix this without me having to go all the way down the barn and grab some tools that I really don't have. So I thought, how am I going to roughen this up? So I grabbed myself a little drywall screw. As you can see there, I roughened the daylights out of that. And I'm going to do that on this side where my thumb is, right? Then I'm going to take some good old trusty JB Weld. This is like the hillbilly liquid duct tape right here. This stuff is amazing. And the reason why I roughened it so far along the sides here is I just don't want to run JB Weld down the center because I want a curve on this, because I want the JB Weld to glue on here and also act as like a reinforcement. So obviously I can't hold this together and glue it, so that's where the good old soldering iron comes in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold this together, and I'm slowly going to take the soldering iron. I'm going to get this end down here on my right, and I'm going to get this end down here on my left. And I'm going to get just a little bit in the middle, just enough to hold this together, and then I'll go ahead and apply my JB Weld. So without further ado, I don't think I have anything to hold this up here, but I will try. I might have to put you in the sink. I will try to hey, maybe that'll stay. Hopefully the phone won't fall in the sink, and I can kind of hold this and show you what I'm doing here. So right here I'm just taking the side of this drywall screw, and 60 grit sandpaper would probably be best for this, but I don't have any 60 grit readily available, and I really don't feel like going down the barn. So I'm just going to rub this back and forth here. Going to get a nice little rough area going. And the reason why you want this rough is you want it porous enough so that JB Weld's going to get down in there at all them little crevices, and it's going to bind real good. You also want to do a cross pattern, so you want to make sure you have gouges and scratches going one way and gouges and scratches going the other. I'm going to put a little bit down the center here. I'm sorry that my ring's getting in the way, guys. I'm trying to keep this in here. Alright, so that should be good enough. Now I'm just going to take my thumb and get the little flakes off. Now, let's transition to the soldering iron here. And this is kind of difficult to do and hold it in the camera all at the same time, but I'm going to do my best, because I'm sure somebody out there is encountering the same thing, and I want you to be able to save a penny for the kingdom. So if you notice here, I'm just kind of going in a little circle, just trying to melt that plastic and kind of bring it across each half here. And I tell you, if you got to do filler plastic like this, believe it or not, you can use like a Ziploc bag and almost flow it in there, sort of like solder. It's actually pretty amazing. I've repaired a gas tank like that before. It was on a Craftsman LTX 1000, I think it was. And hopefully I don't... Whoop. Sorry, guys. I was hoping I wouldn't burn my fingers there. I didn't. tell you what, I surely dropped the phone pretty good. Good thing it didn't go down to garbage disposal. Alright, so let's try this once again here. I'm going to transition to the other end. I can tell you I definitely felt the heat off that guy though. I got to try and push this together and solder it, or not solder it, but melt this stuff all at the same time. And you got to get this guy pretty tight because it's got to fit down in that same little groove that it fit in. And if your circle's too wide, then you're not going to have any luck. Now I'm trying to let that dry a little bit, cool down so it'll hold. Alright, so I'm thinking that's good. And if I got a soldering iron in the kitchen and I'm doing this in the sink, then you know the wife isn't here. Alright. Alright, so there we go, guys. That's going to hold long enough for me to get the glue on. It's definitely not going to hold any structure stuff. So now, let's do some JB Weld, shall we? Alright, so we need to get some scrap garbage here. Looks like I've got a creamy garlic shell pattern thing here. Now, when you're mixing JB Weld, what you want to do, you want to do equal parts. I'm trying to get it like a little bumper back here for the phone so it'll stand up. Alright. Move that out a little bit. Alright. So what you want to do, you got a part A and a part B. Now this stuff is not activated until these two swish together. And I tell you, back in the day, JB Weld, I heard of people using it on tractors and sleeves for engines and all sorts of stuff. And pretty much you just kind of eyeball it, get a big gob out there. And this is standard JB Weld. It's not JB Weld Quick. I don't much care for the quick stuff. But I will tell you the quick stuff sets up pretty fast. Alright. It doesn't have to be exact. It's pretty darn close. Just grab something scrap. I'm just going to use this drywall screw. And then you take this stuff and you just mix it together until you get like a uniform gray color. It's kind of a dark gray. And if you're off a little bit, you know, if it's too dark, add a little bit of white. If it's too white, add a little bit of dark. And mix this stuff up really good. Now, as I was saying, there's JB Weld and JB Weld Quick. JB Weld Quick will actually start to set up in probably 5 to 10 minutes, depending on the temperature and humidity. This stuff, a standard JB Weld, you're looking at 24 to 72 hours, depending on your needs. But I've used this stuff to fix motorcycle gas tanks. I've used it on engines back in the day. It really depends where you're using it and what the purpose is. So I'm thinking, guys, that's probably good. It's a decent kind of dark gray. So now I'm going to grab my wheel. I'm going to scoot this over to the side. And I'm just going to lather this stuff up in here. First place I'm going to get is all down in the center. And I'll tell you, if you want a finished product, I had a motorcycle. It was a Craigslist special. And it had a big old dent in the gas tank. And I really didn't want to try and pull the tank, try and pull that dent out and be hee-hawing around with it. So I sanded it down, got it nice and gritty, slapped some JB Weld in there, let it dry for about 2 days. Came back with sandpaper, couldn't even get it to budge. Had to use the grinder to grind that thing down. Once I ground it down, I just paint it right over top of it. And lo and behold, It looked pretty darn good, I tell you. Alright, sorry if the angle isn't right here. I'm going to show you one other trick here. It's probably not the most prettiest thing. But no, because I'm just kind of lathering this on here. You want to make sure you don't get on the inside because this thing's going to pivot around that plastic. So what you want to do, take your finger, get a big old gob of spit, right, and just slowly run it across. Not too hard, just enough to kind of smooth it out a little bit, give it somewhat a decent appearance. Okay, tap this in here, because once this stuff dries, it will be hard. Make sure that doesn't bind up. And there we go. So, it's not the prettiest thing in the world, but that is how you hillbilly fix a stroller. And once this guy dries, all I got to do is take this and slap it back on the stroller over here. And voila! We will have a fully functional stroller, but need to let this dry probably, I think I'm going to wait 48 hours. But anyway, that's how to fix a stroller on a hillbilly budget. And I hope you guys learned something. JB Weld. You can find this stuff at Ace Hardware. You can find it at Wally World. It's amazing stuff. I love this stuff. I've used it for probably 2 decades. It ranks right up there with PB Blaster. I believe every barn and garage needs JB Weld and PB Blaster. Also, JB Weld, I'll share one other quick story with you. Years ago, there was a woman. She was broke down near Kings Island in Ohio, southern Ohio. And I think she had to go all the way to Cleveland, Ohio. And she was just in a bad situation, didn't have any money, couldn't afford a new radiator for her car, and it was one of them plastic radiator things. I don't know if it was a Honda or what it was. But I rode down the road, got some JB Weld. I didn't have anything to roughen up the plastic, so I used a rock, like a little piece of concrete broke off in the parking lot. Roughened it up, put some JB Weld on there, hung out with her for probably 2 or 3 hours, letting that stuff dry, and she drove all the way back to Cleveland, probably 3.5 hours away, and then followed up with her via email or Facebook. She said it had been 2 weeks and the thing was, just holding up fine. So anyway, must have JB Weld. Anyway, love you guys. Penny saved for the kingdom is a penny earned. Peace.